This is the old part of Shanghai, a city nicknamed China's modern metropolis. After China was reduced to being a semi-colonial country well over a century ago, numerous concessions were built around this area. The city used to be fraught with factional conflict driven by multiple competing interests until it was liberated at the end of the 1940s. When the People's Liberation Army arrived in Shanghai in 1949, soldiers were requested to act according to strict instructions. Chief among them, soldiers were not allowed to enter residents' households or fire guns without a valid reason, and they all slept here in the street to make sure that they wouldn't disturb local residents' lives. Today, the war is remembered through historical archives, including handbooks instructing the soldiers of what to do when entering the city, and the diaries of those involved in the fighting. Ran Wuchang was in his 20s when his troops entered Shanghai, and he remembers it like yesterday.
In 3 days and 4 nights, we had 6 fights, from the first battle on Yinming Bridge to the last clashes with the KMT troops at Jiangwan Airport. After the last fight on May 27, 1949, we were ordered to leave the city immediately and head to the suburbs, part of our instructions to liberate Shanghai. The idea was to not disturb the locals.
Many didn't live to see today's Shanghai, a vibrant city with a skyline dominated by these fancy buildings. A younger generation of Chinese have taken over, stepping up the role of building the city their way. The company where Cao works helped dredge the Huangpu River, contributing to the city's modernization.
Since reform and opening up, especially in the 1990s, Shanghai's economy has started to take off. Frankly, now we get to enjoy imported food that we didn't have access to before, such as chocolate and milk powder. There was nothing in Pudong before other than farms. Now it's full of tall buildings and transport is convenient. As an old saying goes, I'd rather have a bed on the west of the Huangpu River than a house on the other side. Now it's quite the opposite.
Unlike his peers, Cao thinks the next step for Shanghai is rural vitalization, which he says should parallel urban development. He brought me to a village around Shanghai, which he has been developing for the past 3 years to help improve villagers' living standards.
Cities will be saturated sooner or later. The urban population is growing too fast. Part of the urban functions can be moved to the countryside. Many companies don't have to stay in cities. They can move to the countryside where the rent is lower and the environment is better. Moreover, they can benefit local villagers.
Cao says he believes rural development can help sustain development in Shanghai, taking it up a notch to the next level through its surrounding areas.